Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. Less than a week back, there was quite a bit of excitement about the meeting between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Pakistani counterpart Nawaz Sharif in Ufa, Russia. The joint statement issued after the meeting between the two was seen as having broken the ice. It was seen as a positive step forward in the resumption of the relations between the two countries after a period of tumult which had seen many events on the border apart from cancellation of the foreign secretary level talks. The 5-point agreement, including meetings between the two national security advisors to discuss all issues connected to terrorism and meetings of chiefs of BSF and Pakistan Rangers, raised a lot of hopes. However, just 1 week after the meeting, we have witnessed revival of tensions at the border and 5 people on the Indian side, including a woman, 2 civilians and 2 soldiers being killed. Pakistan has complained about drones being used by India to spy on the Pakistani side, which has been denied by India. All this has led to a situation which has dampened the UFA spirit. So what has gone wrong again between the two sides? Is this just an aberration? Can the two prime ministers stick to the UFA agreement now? We will discuss all this with Vivek, Katju, former ambassador, Rana Banerjee, security analyst and former special secretary, cabinet secretariat, Vinod Sharma, political editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Katju, you think the UFA agreement has come unstuck?
You know, there is an enormous sense of deja vu. But what has happened is par for the course. If you see the nature of India-Pakistan ties over the decades.
Why do you say there is a sense of deja vu?
Deja vu because let us recall the Lahore visit of Prime Minister Vajpayee. What happened thereafter? Kargil. There was a lot of excitement then, a lot of anticipation that relations will turn a corner. But let us also learn a lesson from Kargil. And that lesson is that the Pakistan army is simply not invested in peace as much as India is. In my view, the underlying factors for all the drama that we see, the ups and downs, the twists and turns, are embedded in this simple contradiction. The dichotomy between the singular view of the Pakistan army, which controls Pakistan's India policy, towards India, and that of India. Its view is India is an eternal threat and therefore an eternal enemy. We want normalization of relations, good neighborly relations with Pakistan. Now, we've tried our level best, and in this case, I think Prime Minister Modi showed that he was willing to diffuse even the red lines that he had himself drawn. But a week afterwards, as you put it in your introduction, reality has struck home.
Mr. Banerjee, do you think there was too much of celebration after UFA after UFA that on both sides there should have been a little more patience on that?
See, this has been a familiar pattern of hype and expectations, whereas nothing much changes in reality. In the Indo-Pak, relationship. So it is important to continue the process of engagement without being overtaken by the hype. So in such situations, I think it is sometimes maybe better to avoid formalizing, statements and, going beyond the actual fact of the engagement. That is what I feel.
You think they could, on hindsight, you're saying that in UFA, they need not have come out with it.
This has been done, it has happened again and again. You see, there are hawks on both sides of the establishment in both countries. And it is, they do hair splitting over the fine-tuning of the wordings, etc. And perceptions sometimes get distorted in this regard. In the instant case, over the joint statement, the perception in Pakistani media has been that it's rather one-sided because Kashmir
It was
has not been mentioned.
some of the Pakistani opposition leaders called it a sellout and called it all.
Well, again, that is a familiar tone. But even the most moderate interpreters or analysts, while they have welcomed the fact of the engagement, they have sort of had to look back over the shoulder to justify or to counter the perception of its being one-sided. So that is the problem.
Okay, Vinod. So you agree that this agreement, while it was welcomed wholeheartedly in India. You yourself were here on a discussion last week when this agreement took place, and there was sense of satisfaction that something is moving forward. So what has gone wrong now in 1 week?
I don't think anything has gone wrong. It is not for the first time that we have had tensions on the border. It's not for the first time that firing has been exchanged, exchange of fire has happened. And it is to address this very situation that UFA was conceived and delineated as a joint statement. The architecture of dialogue between the DGMOs, the heads of BSF and the Pakistan Rangers,
and
the National Security Advisor, this is the mechanism to address this very situation. And I think that the recurrence so soon after the pact has only driven home the importance of the pact. Now, insofar as India is concerned, I am less concerned about what is said about it in Pakistan. That is for the Pakistani establishment to address, that is for the Pakistani public to debate. But I place a lot of value in what Sartaj Aziz said by way of explaining the nature of the document. He said that this document is a relation of what was mutually agreed as deliverables. It does not encapsulate the trend of discussions between the two leaders, which by implication meant that Kashmir figured. He also said Balochistan figured from the Pakistani standpoint. Now, it is for the Pakistani political leadership to explain the legitimacy of this document to its people. But insofar as my government and Prime Minister, my government means India's government, and our Prime Minister's position is concerned, it is not compromised in any manner, because regardless of what the opposition says, regardless of what the skeptics say, that he has made it clear that he wants engagement with Pakistan. Now, it is for Pakistan to take a call that what it wants to do in its relationship with India.
But this is not the kind of engagement which is expected.
No, listen, the problem that happened on the Indian side was that some zealots declared it as a breakthrough and, saying that, oh, 2611 is back on the table. Those poor people forgot that the table didn't exist. This pact puts the table back. And they have decided to what to put on the table as starters, And I think that this situation will blow over for the simple reason that the Sharif government could not have gone ahead with this statement without the tacit or full-fledged backing of the
Pakistani army. I don't understand why you're so amused.
No, I'm amused at the desperation of those who are in favor of engagement with Pakistan at any cost for the sake of engagement, at this assumption that the army is with, the Pakistan army is with Nawaz Sharif.
This is what
time again we have it has been demonstrated
1 second, sir.
that the army does not.
I was going through a Pakistani journalist's account of the meeting of this agreement in Ufa. The Pakistani journalist also agrees that the relations between Nawaz Sharif, Zahid Hussain. He says that the relations between Nawaz Sharif and the Pakistani army is much better than what it was 1 year back.
Yes, it is. That's what the Pakistani news report said.
Pakistani journalist listing. Anyway, we'll keep that aside. But my question is this. You think that what is happening in the border now in the last couple of days is serious enough to, to create some kind of a situation which can upset the UFA agreement?
Look, I believe that Engagement, yes. I do believe that we should have mechanisms to address tensions along the border. I'm not very clear, given our experience of the joint anti-terror mechanism, which was set up in 2006, whether meetings on terrorism, even if they are at NSA's level, will deliver any meaningful results.
No, so
But
no,
please,
one second.
no.
One second. So you think that the UFA agreement was? What do you think of the UFA agreement?
No. I think that the UFA, I think the following of the UFA agreement. One, it is a tentative step on the part of India. It does not resume the dialogue process as such. Two, I do think that the very fact that the term outstanding issues has been mentioned and in the context of both prime ministers being prepared to discuss all outstanding issues, Pakistani concerns of Jammu and Kashmir have been taken care of, even though indirectly. Now, I also think that the focus on fishermen is fine, and that religious tourism, given the fact that there are large numbers of pilgrims on both sides, is also a good focus. However, the problem that I face in looking at this process is, one, that it is diffusing the red lines that Mr. Modi himself had set. And I believe that countries that diffuse red lines, having spelled them out very clearly, suffer a loss of credibility. And that has a long-term and adverse impact. That's been my diplomatic experience. That is my first.
So what?
Second,
please clarify this. What do you mean by this? You said that red lines were drawn by the Prime Minister and he has withdrawn from those red lines. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying they've been diffused.
They have been diffused. And
diffused in the sense you had the red line.
What were the red lines?
The red line was that the Hurriyat will not be projected as a third party by the Pakistanis.
So how has it been diffused?
That was diffused when Jaishankar returned, and the Pakistani High Commissioner was allowed to debrief or brief the Hurriyat on what transpired in
Ufa.
In Islamabad. It was diffused then, and there is no assurance today. In fact, the other point is true. The Pakistanis say no, we will continue our relationship with the Hurriyat as before. That is my thing. The engagement, yes, but engagement not for the purpose of engagement. Engagement has to be directed to a certain end.
Okay. Vinod, you wanted to react?
Yeah, frankly, I didn't respond to my friend's, sudden burst of excitement, because I don't think it was directed at me, because he's basically talking about the Prime Minister, diffusing the red lines. See,
I'm not talking of the Prime Minister.
Anyway,
no of you. I'm talking of...
If you were not. You should be upfront in what you want to say.
No, I'm thinking of the thought process.
In any case, let me defend the Prime
upfront.
Minister. Let me, for a change, defend the Prime Minister. You see, the point is very clear. My friend is talking about Prime Minister Modi diffusing the red lines. My friend was very much part of the process during Vajpayee's time, and Vajpayee diffused the red lines.
No, but he mentioned that.
But Vajpayee, when he diffused please listen to me.
He's talking about his experience.
No, his own experience. By my experience, there is another view to his experience, because my experience and his experience are linked. Because I was there as a journalist and he was there as a diplomat, and we both are friends, Now,
that's immaterial. That's immaterial for today's discussion.
No, may I say one thing? That when Mr. Vajpayee evolved from Arya Par Ki Ladai into Hand of Friendship from Srinagar, what he grabbed in the process, the best achievement of his tenure, which was an accord between him and Musharraf, of January 6, 2004, where Pakistan accepted for the first time, and at that time, my friend Vivek Katju was propagating this, and rightly so.
But I was not here. Please,
one second.
I left in 2001.
Let him finish. You can.
So anyway, so let's, but in any case, dealing him from that, I'm wrong on that. In 2004, he grabbed the best deal he could have got from Musharraf. And that pact, which was in 19...
No, what is the point you're trying to make, Vinod?
He got an acceptance from Pakistan that its territory was being used for export of terror against India, and that they will put a full stop on it.
So you said that...
And that led to a long period of back-channel negotiations and also peace and tranquility on the borders between India and Pakistan.
That's fine.
That was also the period. That was also the period. He rightly says that the elements in the Pakistan army who don't have an investment in peace. But that was also the period when the vested interest was generated in sustaining peace along the sides of the two borders, within the common people.
Yes, Mr.
Within the common people.
That also...
Sorry, sir, I'll come to you.
That also led to Mumbai, to 26/11.
No, may I say
Please,
one
I mean, let me complete.
No,
Let me complete. That also led to this. I'm happy that Vinod concedes that there are elements in Pakistan.
No, there are elements.
Please, let me complete. There are elements in Pakistan who are not invested in peace. Unfortunately, these are the elements who control Pakistan's
That's
policy.
okay. Mr. Banerjee, my question is this. You know, looking at the Pakistani media, you mentioned it earlier also, but there are elements who want peace there. Now that this, why do you think that this skirmishes are happening in the border now? If the theory is that when Mr. Nawaz Sharif went to UFA and had this meeting, came out, agreed for this 5-point agreements and all that, it was thought that he has the Pakistani army behind it. So what is happening at the border? They are blaming us for having India for having sent some drones and trying to spy there, because of which there has been firing from the other side. You think it is as simple as that, or is there a larger picture?
See, the behavioral pattern conforms to past practice. There has always been this dualism in the policy approaches from the Pakistani side. And if you go to the substance of the issues, Zahid Hussain is right when he says that the relationship between Nawaz Sharif and Army Chief Rahil Sharif is very good. And the jury is still out on to what extent the authorization was there for Pakistan to go ahead, and even in Pakistan. But this type of signaling could reflect some dissonance within the army about the endorsement given to the civilian political leadership.
So are you trying to say that there may be a difference of opinion within the army on what
that could be there, but there would be need to study some more consistent or continuing signals which may come in the days to come before Mr. Sartaji meets the Indian National Security Advisor.
When we don't know?
We don't know, but the dates will come. I mean, there I would agree with Vinod that, this would die down, this controversy or the tensions that are there would die down. But I would like to caution that, we should not have too many expectations about the substance of the, process even on terrorism, like on the exchange of voice samples itself. There is this, very conservative faction or opinion within the Pakistani judiciary also, where, the chief prosecutor has been constrained to bring out that, the law does not permit, or that there is an amended law, but we are not sure how much would be possible to comply on that provision. So nothing very much substantive will move forward or come. We will have to, be cautious about it.
Now to be moderate in our expectations. Is that what you're
not optimistic. But nevertheless, I would suggest or support the process of engagement.
Yes, Mr. Katju.
No, I will only add to what Rana has said. Sartaj Aziz went further than the prosecutor. He said that, as he has said, as the Pakistanis have said in the past, that in order to expedite the trial, Indians would have to provide them further evidence.
That's right. After they went back, that was a statement which was made. But Mr. Katju, the question is this now. Now that this skirmish at the border is happening, how much pressure is there on the Indian Prime Minister to ensure that the UFA agreement is stuck by?
You see, once a Prime Minister invests in an agreement, then it is difficult for him to retreat from it. Politically, it is difficult immediately. But the Prime Minister is a great realist. Mr. Modi is, I think, being a realist, I'm sure has no illusions about what he is entering, what he has entered into with Pakistan. And I'm confident that in time, that realism will come forth.
And what is that realism you're expecting to come forth?
That realism will be reflected, I'm confident, in not only policy statements, but in action on the ground. Yesterday, for example, Jaishankar, the Foreign Secretary, said quite plainly that while we will go ahead with this process, which has been agreed to, Pakistan should be left in no doubt that our response will be fierce. Now, what has happened, which I think is a consequence of UFA, that the response, while fierce, is apparently geographically more limited than it was a year back, when there was similar firing from across.
What do you expect? You expect India to react much more fiercely than what they have reacted so far? Wouldn't that completely destabilize the process at all?
No. I think the nature of our actions has to be determined by government, taking all factors into account, which obviously if people like us who are here, who are outside the government process, are not aware of. So that is something we must leave to the judgment of the government.
Vinod, you think Nawaz Sharif will be able to write? Because, he's also having a lot of pressure. When he went back from UFA, there was a whole lot of, as we discussed earlier, there was a whole lot of criticism against him. Maybe this is part of that, within Pakistan, not just army or establishment, that what is happening on the border may reflect that kind of a situation within Pakistan. But you think Nawaz Sharif will be able to ride this storm? Because what is happening now is also a problem for him.
I remember a brief conversation I had with then Prime Minister Vajpayee when he was in the middle of talks with Pakistan. And there were two other journalists, and they were saying that, nothing is happening on anti-terror front. And I said that, no, they have been saying to India that they don't have control on all groups, because with many groups, Kashmir is an ideological question. And even if governments agree to engage, these freelancers would continue to be active. No, it's well nigh possible that,
You think it's the freelancers being active now?
Freelancers with tacit support of elements in the establishment.
Okay.
So these people justify their actions, and they have been doing this in talks with even the British and the Americans, that we can't have 100% control over these groups. And some other journalists tried to question me, and the Prime Minister interjected and said, what Vinod is saying is right. Now, what I am saying is that Justice Ambassador Katju is very right that a Prime Minister, when he commits to a dialogue process, he cannot immediately deconstruct it. It cannot be a knee-jerk reaction. And I'm sure that the government of the day will take a call after cost-benefit analysis of this peace initiative. But at the same time, may I point out that there is a model available, and which model I call as the Barack's, our Prime Minister's friend Barack's Iran model, which is based on verify and not trust. May I say one thing? When America can set up a negotiating table and come to some agreement with Cuba and Iran, why cannot India? Why cannot India, which has an equally complex relationship with Pakistan? I am not saying that you concede your national interest on the table, but you keep channels of communication open. That's a simple thing.
Okay, Mr. Katju.
Channels of communication, there's no problem.
Absolutely.
However,
the channels of communication,
the analogy which Vinod is giving fails, because neither Cuba nor the Iranians were launching terrorist attacks against Americans.
Okay.
Well,
No,
you see, Iranians are considered to be the single biggest challenge to Arab nationalism in the whole of West
Arab
Asia.
national, not
That
US.
they are,
But anyway,
but they are also the single biggest challenge to Israel. You know?
That's not the
that
issue.
risk has
That's
been
not
taken
the
by the
issue.
American
That's not the
president.
issue, Mr. Banerjee. Do you think Nawaz Sharif will be able to ride the storm? This is a storm. Do you agree that it is as much of a problem for him as anybody else?
At the moment, I wouldn't say it's a storm, but yes, the domestic resentment, particularly the right-wing resentment in Pakistan, would need to be watched closely. It may abate or it may not. What is more important is about the non-state actors, whether they may try to take this opportunity to scuttle the process in some way.
Do you agree with
this
Vinod
again has a
do you
historical...
agree with Vinod that this may be some non-state freelancers with some tacit support of the army creating these problems in the border now?
No, border firing of this nature will have to be by institutional forces. I mean, it won't be freelancers. But incidents have happened in the past whenever there have been an important visit or some important agreement in the future. So the longer the gap, this potential danger of elements trying to scuttle the process remains. And there again, it will depend on to what extent the Pakistani establishment has control over or claims to not have control over. So that will be a very fine balance which will need to be maintained on the other side.
Okay, but what about India? You think that India should overlook what is happening at the border now and continue the process which is started in UFA?
Not overlook. All our forces or agencies should be assigned clear roles to respond. But there should not be macho overreaction.
Okay. Would you both agree with this?
Yes,
with this view of what he says, Mr. Katju?
I don't understand the words macho overreaction.
Okay.
I can explain them to you.
Please.
When some very important political leaders says कि हम मुंह तोड़ जवाब देंगे, this thing doesn't go down very well on the other side.
But when look, I'm not bothered about
that is
the
macho
other,
reaction.
No, I'm not bothered about the other side. I'm bothered about an innocent woman working the fields in Jammu dying. That is my primary concern.
Macho is also what happened vis-a-vis Myanmar. Because when you say we went inside and carried out a surgical operation, you are actually hitting at the sovereignty of another nation.
That's
that should
beyond
be
the point.
resisted.
Anyway,
I think that's a more appropriate example for Mr. Katju to understand.
Okay, anyway, we have completely run out of time. But the fact is that this is when so much heat can be generated in a studio with just 3 people here, you can understand what the kind of heat being generated at the border. So, it needs a lot of patience to ensure that, this heat doesn't go beyond a point. So we will wait and watch what will happen. Hopefully the UFA process will not get disrupted by what's happening at the borders. We'll wait and watch what will happen. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with Analyst in the Big Picture same time tomorrow.